The department's also been doing something which I really want to call them out on. You know what they're suggesting to these students who have just gone through this miserable experience at this for-profit, failed, bankrupt Corinthian college? They're suggesting they transfer to another for-profit college. What are they thinking? Students should be warned if they use their Corinthian credits to transfer to another institution, they're not going to be eligible for discharge. And when the department suggested the schools they might transfer to, here are a few examples of the schools the U.S. Department of Education suggested that the Corinthian college students transfer their credits to and still keep their debt from Corinthian. ITT Tech, see their ads everywhere, don't you? What you don't see in their ads is the fact that they're under investigation by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. 16 different state attorneys general are investigating ITT Tech, and they're on the Department of Education's heightened cash monitoring list. And our department is recommending that these students transfer to this school? What are they thinking? Here's another one, Cordon Bleu, International Academy of Design and Technology, powerful names. What you don't see in all their ads, their parent company, Career Education Corporation, is under investigation by 17 different state attorneys general and on the Department of Education's heightened cash monitoring list. And our Department of Education is suggesting that the students at the failed Corinthian college, well, why don't you pick up a culinary degree at Cordon Bleu? Maybe it will stay in business. Here's another one. The Art Institutes and Argosy University. Argosy University. I ran into their signs in Chicago this last weekend, and I couldn't help but think, how many students are lured into believing Argosy University is something more than it really is? It's a for-profit college and university. And incidentally, for the record, the parent company, Education Management Corporation, is under investigation by the U.S. Department of Justice and 17 state attorneys general, and they are also on the Department of Education's heightened cash monitoring list. It's another school the Department of Education suggested the Corinthian scholars transfer to. Westwood College, one of the most infamous in the Chicagoland area, being sued by the Illinois Attorney General for deceptive recruiting practices, recommended by the Department of Education for transfer. DeVry, under investigation by the Federal Trade Commission and 2 state attorneys general. University of Phoenix, whose parent company is being investigated by 2 state attorneys general. Kaplan, under investigation by 3 state attorneys general. Has the Department of Education learned nothing? How, in good faith, can they tell these Corinthian students who just had their college disappear and are sitting on a pile of debt that these are viable transfer options for their students? Last summer, the department assured me they'd not sell Corinthian campuses to companies being investigated. They didn't want the students to be placed in double jeopardy. Why now will the department accept that outcome for these students? A move like this leads me to the sad conclusion the Department of Education is out of touch with the reality of the danger of students signing up at for-profit colleges and universities. I want to say a word about the students who don't qualify for the clear relief I mentioned under the federal law. I've joined Senator Elizabeth Warren and others in calling on the Department of Education to provide meaningful federal debt relief to all students who've been wronged by Corinthian. We believe the fraud perpetrated by Corinthian should constitute a defense to repayment for students. The department should provide clear guidelines on how students can assert their claim. These students need it, and they deserve it. Senator Warren and I will be meeting with Secretary Duncan and Undersecretary Mitchell later this week. While Corinthian's fraudulent behavior has left tens of thousands of students in financial desperate straits, the company's leaders have been cashing in for years. The CEO of the failed Corinthian Corporation, which received 80 to 90% of its revenue directly from the federal treasury through student loans, made over $3 million in 2013. Vice presidents didn't do quite as well. They only were paid $1 million. And the list goes on. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, in September of last year, sued Corinthian. This goes back a few months. They sued them for illegal predatory lending schemes, luring students with false job promises, saddling them with high-cost debt, and harassing them when they were unable to repay their loans. Turned out only 25% of the students coming out of Corinthian colleges were able to repay their loans. 25%. Why? Because the tuition is so high, the diploma is so worthless. Why are we complicit? Why is the U.S. Department of Education not blowing the whistle on this school and every other school that's exploiting students all across America? At the end of the day, the losers are not only the students who've wasted their time and ended up with debt. The losers are the taxpayers of America. The taxpayers of America who provide the funds for the student loans and unfortunately do not have the protection that they deserve in this situation. Madam President, I'm going to yield the floor at this point and call on the Department of Education to put as their highest priority the casualties and victims of this Corinthian college.